my name is Darina. I'm a young entrepreneur. We currently run 2 businesses. I've made multiple 5 figures in an online space and we generated multiple 6 figures for our clients. But this video is not really about my businesses, it's more about me and my backstory to hopefully inspire some people out there, because I often see all of those people who have crazy ambition but they never get supported by their loved ones. Or you see all of these business people online and you think, oh my god, they're like so successful. Maybe they had some privilege, maybe they had some start, maybe they had some network, maybe they had some other resources that I didn't have. This is what I thought before starting my business and before finding any success really. I thought success was for some people out there and not for me. And this is actually not right, and hopefully this video will break this limiting belief from you. On social media, I'm known for sales. I teach people how to get into sales, how to start making money with it, how to sign their first client. But it's not always been like this. And my story actually goes back to 3 years ago when we still lived in Ukraine. This is where I come from. I was still in school, and in February 2022, imagine you're just living your life today, and then without any further notice, tomorrow the war just starts and you just don't know where you're going to be tomorrow and if there is a tomorrow for you. I often think about this. If you've ever heard that sound on TikTok, which is like, for some of us there's no tomorrow, this is how life felt for me at that point. It was 3 people. It was me, my mom, and my little sister. My mom was taking care of the 3 of us. I'm from south of Ukraine. This is where most of the war was actually going on. So our city, our town was getting attacked pretty much every single day, and especially my area, we lived near the river, and apparently the river is very important for the infrastructure of Ukraine, and Russia was trying to destroy it. So my mom was still going to work, which was super dangerous, but that was her only choice. And me and my sister, we were staying at home. She would leave at 7 a.m, come back at 7 p.m. She was working 12 hours, 6 days a week. So this is how we still had food to, some supermarkets would still work. We could not leave that city because we simply had no relatives in safe areas of Ukraine or abroad. One thing about my family is we didn't have any network. It was closer to March 2022 when things started to get really bad, and it was quite cold outside. Our boiler broke, so we had no hot water at that point. We had to heat up the water to just have a shower. This was when also our city was getting properly attacked. The Kherson, it was a city right next to my city. I'm from Mykolaiv. Kherson has been occupied, and Russians were trying to get into Mykolaiv itself because it was literally the next city. We really didn't know what was going on. It was this point where we would just spend the whole day in our basement just because that was the safest place. I still remember how it was really cold. I used to go to sleep and I used to just pray to God just to give me a couple of more days and for my family as well. It was either something was going to happen to me from the outside circumstances, or I was going to do something to myself. I lost my dad when I was 10, and I would not be able to go through another loss again, especially, I was still in school. And this was also, I was getting really depressed day by day. We had online school and our teachers would be, I don't know, somewhere in Germany, somewhere in other countries, and I was still in there. At that point, I simply did not know how my life would look like. If someone told me back then, those 3 years ago, during one of those nights, which I just spent praying to just live, if someone told me that my life would look like this today, I would have thought you are insane. I would not even believe you that I would be still alive right now. It's just something I'm not exactly proud of, but God got me through that period of time. I thought, we need to do something, we need to escape. And this was also the time when the special visa for Ukrainians got released. So it was essentially, Ukrainians could find a host family somewhere in UK. They could help us with visas, and that's how we could move to UK. I chose UK because I sort of spoke English at that point. It was not even nearly as kind of good as it is right now. I could not even have a conversation. But once again, that was the only choice that we had at that point. So without really letting my mom know, I found the host family on this website. There was this website that Ukrainians have created. We somehow found the host family. I told them about our situation. Thankfully, they helped us with visas. On that same day, we got on the FaceTime. I stayed up until like 4 a.m, I think, filling out those visa forms in literal basement. We applied in March 2022. And thankfully, in April 2022, we got that final message, which was, your visas are approved, you're going to UK. And this was the craziest thing ever, because imagine you're still in school, you applied for visas for your whole family with some family somewhere in UK, you actually got approved, and now your life is just about to change drastically. Like everything that I used to know, all of the culture, the language, everything. And we are about to go there. It was crazy. So I told my mom, and my mom was also at this point where, you know, she cared about her kids and she wanted us to actually be safe. In the next few days, we actually went to Poland. We caught a train to Poland, and we had to stay at a refugee camp for about 2 weeks until we could figure out how we would get to UK. I'm not gonna get into much detail there, but I used to do some volunteering in that refugee camp as well, because not many people knew English. It was really interesting, but a lot of volunteers there were actually from UK, which was quite helpful because they told me a bit about their culture in exchange of me actually helping them work with Ukrainians and translating some stuff. And this was pretty much my first ever job, I would say. And then thankfully we finally booked a flight and we went from Poznan in Poland to Manchester, United Kingdom. 3 years ago. We arrived on May 3rd. It feels like it was decades ago. I was super scared because I was still a high school student, and imagine having your family by your side. I was the one who dragged them into that situation. I was the one who dragged them into UK. I was the only one who spoke English out of the three of us. So that meant that now I had to manage our whole family and help them out. Thankfully, our host family was super helpful. We lived with them for about a year until we helped my mom find a job. And I started looking for jobs myself. I hated college because I never felt like I fit in. I recently got introduced to this idea of behavior pyramid. Actually, let me draw it out for you. Apparently, there are 5 levels of human behavior, and survival is somewhere here. So it's food, shelter, and all the other basic needs. Then it's something like people. Then you start trying to find people once you have the food, the shelter. Then you find validation, and then you strive. Then you actually can do something. You can do something creative. You can create. Now, I was somewhere here. I would say survival because we just moved. I was still trying to learn the language. I was still wondering how the hell my life would work out. And then the kids, they probably were somewhere here. There was really a disconnect there, which caused me to drop out quite early. My first job was actually teaching people English. I had to lie about my age to actually get that job, but it was with a Ukrainian company. It was a remote job where I was essentially just teaching people English because, once again, it was war and a lot of people, they started moving around, and this is when a lot of people realized how important it is to actually know the English. So that was my first ever job. I really did not like it because I felt like it wasn't something that I enjoyed. I was getting really underpaid. It was with Ukrainian people and it didn't force me into too much discomfort. Eventually I had to quit that job because, once again, it was quite underpaid and I wanted to help my mom a bit more. Then I went on to work as a waitress, which, once again, I didn't like because there was a huge language barrier. I often would not understand what people would tell me. This was also like my first year in UK, and I think that's why. And there were often shifts when I was just crying in the toilet. I would just go in the toilet and I'd cry so that no one could see me. I'd have these weak moments because I really wanted to make money. I wanted to actually be helpful, but I felt like I physically could not be helpful. There was this time when I had to ask my friend that worked at that same place to take the order for me after asking that same person 3 times what they ordered because I simply could not understand what they were saying. And it was that bad. So once again, I got fired from that job. It wasn't me leaving, I got fired from it. At that point, I got really depressed. I wanted to help my mom. Ever since my dad died when I was really young, my mom had to take care of the 3 of us, and my biggest goal was really to help her and take some stuff off her plate and hopefully retire her sooner because at that point she was 40-ish. She's a very beautiful woman, she's very kind, and she's done a lot for all of us. I really just wanted to be helpful for her. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to have some impact on people. I wanted to help people. This actually led me into scrolling on Instagram a lot and finding some of the reels, seeing what other people were doing, and I started my first ever social media channel, which was Instagram, and I was posting reels. It was faceless reels, and I was just giving people tips on sales, how to make more money, the high income skills for people. And then I started learning the skill of copywriting. I saw that a lot of people were making a lot of money with it. Now, this is totally not a beginner friendly skill, and now I definitely know that skills like sales are definitely more beginner friendly, and they probably would work out a bit better for me, but that was the first thing that I came across. I managed to land my first couple of clients after 6 months of posting every single day on social media. I went from this place of being completely desperate and hopeless, I thought there was no remedy for my situation, to signing my first couple of clients who made me my first 4 figures a month. I still remember that day when I was talking to my first client. She was still my prospect. I haven't signed her yet, but I was praying to God and I said, God, if you give me that one client, I'll work relentlessly every single day to make as much impact on whoever needs that impact, on whoever needs to hear my story. I'll do my very best to provide the best results for her possible. And in our first month, I took her from $26K to $70,000 in pure profit on my own by doing her email marketing and some of her funnels. And this is where I realized online space is fucking insane. I made 4 figures doing that online without any physical labor. And when working as a waitress, I'd have to work for 4 months straight to make that much money. And I still remember when my client sent me that message and she said, wow, you're doing really great. I remember I started crying. I was really grateful that I was able to help her. I didn't tell you this story, but when I first dropped out, my mom didn't talk to me for 3 days. Because it's more of a Ukrainian thing. It's a huge shame to drop out, actually, and there's nothing worse than dropping out for a Ukrainian family. My mom, the first question she asked me was, but what will your family think? What will I tell your grandmother? What will I tell other people? She felt like she failed as a mother, and I don't think anything has ever hurt as much as that did, because all I ever wanted was to make my mom proud and to help her out. And then she told me that she was not supportive of my decision at all, and it was really hard to accept. And that first month when I made my first 4 figures of that client, it felt surreal. I thought I just unlocked a different level in my life, and that was true. Only 2 years ago, I used to stay in a refugee camp, and now I'm making 4 figures a month. Fast forward to today. This month, we just came back from our trip to Paris. I took my mom and my sister to Paris. My sister was there for the first time. My mom went with my dad before. I paid for pretty much every single expense that we had. It was a great feeling. But I just wanted to remind you, no one believed in me at the start. My mom was against me. I was all but on my own. I had no friends in this space. I had no friends in this fucking country. I didn't know a single person here when I came to UK except my host family, but they could not help me with my business. I also grew up as a shy person, so I was always really scared of asking for help. So I had to figure everything out on my own. I never asked for help. It actually was a huge mistake. I feel like I would be much more successful if I ever did that. But to anyone who might feel crazy right now because they have this ambition or they feel that like they're meant for more, there are a lot of things that you don't know about. It'll probably be something absolutely random that actually makes you successful. Like, I believe there is so much more impact that I can have on this community, but it's probably nothing that I know about right now. It will all come absolutely randomly. My first client, it was absolutely random. She came from a search engine. She just searched up a copywriter and I just showed up. It wasn't even my content. If you told me back then when I was in that refugee camp in Poland that I would be making 4 figures just a year and a half later, I would not believe you. I barely had $20 to my name. We had to ask our host family for them to give us money to actually fly in there. If you told me that I'd be living the kind of life I live right now and have the kind of community that I'm privileged to have right now, I would not believe you. At that point, I could barely believe that that was a tomorrow for me. I just want to remind you, I do everything in my 3rd language. About 2 years ago, I could barely speak English. This video is more of a reminder to whoever is listening that whatever you have in mind is possible. If you redirect that sadness, that anger, or maybe that happiness, that excitement that you feel when you think of your current situation into doing the work, this is how everything works out, because I feel like this is what helped me. I felt super depressed at that point. I didn't have a single person on my side supporting me. A lot of people thought I was absolutely insane and I was probably just going crazy after everything that I've been through. At that point, you know, running your online business was something that people didn't even think about. Right now it's a bit more acceptable, but especially if you come from a Ukrainian family that's been in poverty for so long. But no matter how crazy you might sound right now, please remember that most of the successful people that you look up to, that motivate you, they started from that same place. So please, after you finish watching this, just go and start doing the fucking thing. Thank you for watching. Love you. Mwah. Follow me on Instagram. It's Darina V.